All right, so for this next exercise here, we're gonna focus on the heel toe downshift. And this is the only thing I really want you to put 100% attention to for this particular exercise, just because it's gonna require quite a bit of coordination. You know, I don't want any other distractions rather than just perfecting the shift in the short amount of time we have. Okay. Now, we're gonna be using 2 gears. Okay, we're gonna be using 2nd gear and we're gonna be using 3rd gear. Now, the best speed for this drill is gonna be about 55 to 60 miles an hour. Okay, you don't wanna go much faster than that, obviously, just for the amount of room we have, but that's gonna be quick enough where the shift is actually going to make sense.
Yes.
Okay. So as we accelerate out of the corner we just went through, accelerate out of 2nd gear, make your shift up to 3rd, try to get to that 55, 60 miles an hour as soon as you can. Okay. Now when you get to the other side of the track, you're gonna start noticing a 3 cone, a 2 cone, and then you're gonna see that turn-in reference that I just set up.
Yes.
Okay. This 3 cone to your right is where I want you to begin your straight line braking. Okay, so 55, 60 miles an hour, 3rd gear. Once you get to this point, make that transition from gas to brake. Now just watching it on the handling oval, you're actually getting better and better at making that smooth transition. Okay, try to roll that right into this exercise. That smoothness is gonna be key, okay? Now another thing that we're gonna do, like we just did in the last exercise, is progressively keep adding more brake pressure the closer you get to your turn-in, okay? So you're gonna be adding more brakes and more brakes and more brakes the closer you get to your turn-in reference, okay? Now here comes the tricky part. As soon as you roughly get about halfway through your braking zone is where you're gonna make that transition from 3rd gear down to 2nd gear, okay? And you wanna try to time that roughly about halfway through your braking zone, okay? Once you complete your shift, you're gonna be out of the clutch, you're gonna remain on the brake pedal, and this double cone here is the cone I want you to turn around.
In 2nd gear.
2nd gear. Now same thing, unwind the wheel.
Accelerate.
Accelerate 2nd.
Okay, into 3rd gear.
Up to 3rd.
Up to 55.
Now as you approach this corner, I'm gonna change the references on you, okay? As soon as you get right to the edge of pit lane wall.
Pit lane wall.
Right about here.
Yes.
On the brakes.
On the brakes.
Look for your halfway point.
Halfway point.
Right about here. Okay, use that point in the tire wall.
Downshift to 2nd.
Downshift to 2nd.
Use a little heel and toe.
Correct. Out of the clutch, remain on the brake, and this is where you're going to be doing that U-turn.
Back and forth, back and forth.
That's it. So what I'll do is, after I'm done explaining this exercise to you, I'm going to put you back into your Corvette, okay, and I'm going to do another lead follow with you, just like the one we just did out on the handling oval. Obviously, you're going to be on the gas about 55, 60 miles an hour, and then as soon as you approach that 3 cone, you remember to make that smooth transition from gas to brake. Now that transition that I just did is going to be very important, because if you are misplacing your foot on the brake, you're going to have a difficult time making contact with that throttle. So something I really aim for is I almost try to put the ball of my foot in the center of the brake.
Ball of the foot,
okay.
Center of the brake. Okay.
Now, right before the 2 cone, clutch goes down. As soon as the clutch goes down, start making your gear change from 3rd over to 2nd. Right before you put into 2nd gear, watch my right foot. I'm gonna roll over, and I'm gonna spike the RPMs up.
Blip it, yeah.
Now, as you blip or you rev the RPMs up, down to 2nd gear.
It's gonna go in nice and smoothly.
Nice and smooth. Release the clutch. Maintain your brake pressure.
Probably what I'll see first time I do it is the car's gonna get jerky as I put too much or too little brake pressure as I'm switching back and forth between clutch and accelerator.
That's a very common issue. You know, a lot of people who misplace their foot on the brake, what they do is they try to reach over, and since they can't reach the actual throttle pedal, they'll compensate by pushing harder on the brake so they can reach that throttle pedal, causing the car then to dive and over slow. So that foot placement, as I said earlier, is going to be a huge piece of this puzzle.
Yep. Well, I'll give it a whirl.
after watching Murray for a little bit, a common issue that he's running into on the heel-toe downshift is when he's going to the brakes, he's not positioning his foot correctly, so he's struggling to bring the RPMs up to match the motor RPM to the transmission RPM. Now, what happens is by not bringing that RPM up, it's actually causing the rear of the car locking up. So as he's going into the corner, you can hear the chatter of that rear end binding and locking up. So the corrective action for him in this situation is trying to reposition his foot and bringing the RPMs a little bit higher to match those 2 RPMs and make for a smoother shift. Now, overall, he's going to develop a higher level of consistency, but also he's eliminating that wear and tear on the drivetrain. So it'll be able to perform for much longer without overheating or braking.